lands of the Ngunnawal and the Ngambri people in the Canberra region, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and welcome anyone who's of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander descent to the meeting today. As I said at the start, this is the first AGM. Oh, sorry, was there a question? This is the first AGM of BGANZ Limited since we became turned from an incorporated association to a company limited by guarantee. So I welcome you to our first AGM under a different structure, although I recognise that BGANZ has been having AGMs for quite a number of years. The first thing I'd like to do, and if everyone can just give a bit of a wave, you probably know most of the board, or many of you may know the board, but I did just want to introduce them all. From our elected directors, we have Wolfgang Bob, Chris Russell, and Leonie Scriven. And our appointed directors are myself, Peter Byron, Catherine Zhang, and Rowan Butler. And of course, I'd like to introduce Cassandra Nichols, who started as our CEO not very many days ago. So I think Cass has been here for probably about 6 weeks, but that's probably about 20 days worth of work. And you'll have an opportunity to hear from Cassandra about her thoughts later in the meeting. Rebecca, are you able to put the slides up?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Now, just so in accordance with the notice of members sent out about the AGM on the 1st of November, setting out the business, I think we also noted in that this meeting is being recorded. That's so that it can be on the website for any members who are unable to be present today, but also to just assist us in managing the meeting and attendees. But it would be useful. It looks like we've got quite a lot of people attending, but it would be useful if you could just put either in the chat or send an email to Rebecca to confirm your attendance and the capacity in which you're attending, if you're a representative of an institutional member, a proxy, or an individual member. That would be great. So we'll get started now. The next slide, if you could please, Rebecca. So a little bit, I thought I'd do, you need to go back one, a little bit of the year in review. It has been a challenging operational year for BGANZ this year. It's the first AGM, as I said, since members voted to move to a company structure, and as part of that register with the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission. It's meant for us as a board, getting to know each other as some of us are new and some of us have had different levels of involvements with BGANZ throughout the years. It's also meant us coming to grips with some of the new governance arrangements and governance requirements that are imposed on us. This also is our first AGM, as I mentioned, with a new CEO in 11 years, following the retirement of our much loved and long-serving and tireless CEO, Eamon Flanagan. And it's my first AGM, having taken over the chair role from Hayley Allen in late June 2023. Notwithstanding the challenges of the year and the inevitable focus that has meant on getting our governance structures in place, I'm pleased to report that we did deliver a surplus of nearly $27,000, which in part has been made possible through the generous support of our partners and sponsors over a number of years. So Seasol International, the Australian National Botanic Gardens, Longwood Gardens and Tailored Accounts. The board did want to record in the AGM our appreciation for this support, and we look forward to working with these organisations to deliver real value for them as our sponsors over this year as well. Catherine Zhang, our treasurer, will provide some more detail on the finances later in the meeting, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But along with the surplus, BGANZ continued to deliver on its strategic priorities of supporting professional development of our members, addressing pressing conservation challenges, advocating and collaborating with members, government and other conservation-focused organisations to promote the value of botanic gardens in conservation, scientific research, placemaking and community wellbeing. I think one of the things that the board is very focused on is making sure that not only is the role of botanic gardens in conservation and contributing to sustainability issues and scientific research well known, but also the really valuable space that they occupy as important places for the community, particularly in that health and wellbeing sense, and how important those botanic gardens really were and came to the fore during the pandemic, providing that opportunity for people to go to open spaces near to them and regenerate. Chris Russell, who is the chair of our members committee, will go through some further details of the actual activities that we undertook during this year. However, before I do hand over to Chris, I do want to reflect on Eamon and his time as CEO. It was through Eamon that I became involved in BGANZ, and I want to thank him personally for that opportunity. It's been a really rewarding experience being involved with such a member-driven and community-focused organisation. There's an enormous amount of expertise and capability across the network, and it's been a fantastic introduction to the organisation that I've had. But more importantly, on behalf of the board and all BGANZ members, I want to thank Eamon for the significant impact he's had on botanic gardens in Australia and New Zealand. Under his leadership, BGANZ grew to be a fantastic active network of learning and knowledge sharing that's grown from humble beginnings to now one that provides an opportunity for members to gain really valuable skills and experience and learn from each other's successes and failures. The board is absolutely committed to maintaining that network and the importance that it plays in sharing the knowledge and developing botanic gardens at all stages. It also has grown to be a leading voice in educating the public and governments and wider community on the value of gardens, including through initiatives such as the really widely celebrated Botanic Gardens Day. It was a really great pleasure for me to be part of the Botanic Gardens Day this year, attending at the Australian National Botanic Gardens, which is very close to my home, and just enjoying all of the things that Botanic Gardens offer. And under Eamon's leadership, we've also transitioned to be a more modern organisation that's capable of embracing digital technologies, including the ability to meet remotely and be able to hold these sorts of things and have that broader impact right across the network and Australia and New Zealand. The support of by embracing some of the more modern capabilities, we now have a much more efficient organisation and are well positioned to be able to deliver member services more efficiently. I'm sure you'll all agree with me that Eamon's passion and enthusiasm for the work of all gardens is second to none, and he's left BGANZ in a very strong position as it moves through its next evolution. Which brings me to our new CEO, Cassandra Nichols, who joined us in October. Many of you will have already spoken to or met Cass, and I'm delighted to welcome her to BGANZ. She brings an exceptional background in conservation and sustainability issues, together with very strong credentials in leading for-purpose and not-for-profit organisations. When the board advertised for the CEO role, I think it's fair to say that none of us dreamed that we could get a candidate of the quality and calibre that we have in Cass. I am thrilled she's chosen to join us, and I have absolutely enjoyed the last couple of weeks working with her and talking about how we can really power the organisation and drive it through and the next stage of its evolution to be a really impactful organisation. So thank you, Cass, for agreeing to take our offer. And I'll ask you to say a few words about your initial thoughts on where we are and where we could go later in the meeting. But for now, I'd like to hand over to Chris Russell, who, as I said, is the chair of our members committee, to just talk a little bit about some of our achievements during 2022-23. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Marianne, and very much echo your words on, and my words expressing how excited I am with where we are as an organisation and this transition that we're moving through and getting stuck into the next exciting phase of what we can achieve together. So I did just want to note a few highlights from our wonderful regional and specialist groups that have occurred over the past financial year, and also like to extend special thanks not only to Eamon and Rebecca, the rest of the board, but also importantly the chairs and members of these regional and specialist groups and the whole member committee. So just in touching through a few highlights, we had held over 20 professional networking forums over the year, which is just fantastic. Webinars, workshops, many held online, but some in person coming, as we emerge from the pandemic, which was great to have some of those face-to-face as well. New South Wales and ACT regional group developed the Discovery Guide, which is the first map produced that includes information and locations for 20 gardens and arboreta in the New South Wales and ACT. A photo there of Michael holding the map there on page. We had the successful rollout of the Hortus plant collection database platform to 22 Victorian botanic gardens. So that's over half of our members within Victoria took up that opportunity, which was made possible through a $171,000 grant from the state Victorian government under the Growing Victoria's Botanic Gardens grant program. And so Hortus are now working to provide that opportunity throughout the rest of the network, which really provides an opportunity to greatly improve the value of our living collections through improved record keeping, but importantly, improved record sharing. We saw the development of the Living Collections Toolkit in a collaboration between BGANZ Vic and BCALM, which was funded from excess funds from that Growing Victoria's Botanic Gardens grant program. So that toolkit will support regional gardens to better manage their living collections through an online interactive resources hosted on the BGANZ website for BGANZ members. So it will initially be available to Victorian members, but will soon be released to all members. So well done to everyone involved with that. We collaborated with the Council of Heads of Australian Botanic Gardens, CHABAG, for federally funded establishment of a national living collections database of myrtle rust susceptible plant species. So a really important step forward in our battle against that invasive pathogen, myrtle rust. There was the launch of several toolkits at the 7th Global Botanic Gardens Congress, which included a Climate Change Alliance of Botanic Gardens online landscape succession for climate-ready botanic gardens toolkit. That's a mouthful, but really proud that BGANZ supported the publication of this online document. There were through grant sources associated with the Care for the Rare project, supported the attendance of 40 Victorian regional botanic garden staff from across 20 gardens to attend the Global Congress back in September in Melbourne. And also at the Congress, there was a workshop held in collaboration with Missouri Botanic Gardens on living collections development and curation. So lots of input into that joint BGCI BGANZ Congress. There was support of 7 staff from Aotearoa New Zealand Botanic Gardens to attend, funded by BGANZ New Zealand. And also whilst in New Zealand, there was also support for the Taking Stock project, which was led by the Royal New Zealand Institute of Horticulture, which is aiming to improve documentation and recording of exotic plants in Aotearoa, which will enable growers and plant breeders to make more informed decisions when importing plants. And the last highlight is BGANZ New Zealand's involvement in a project working with the Department of Conservation in New Zealand, really important one, called Species on the Brink project. There's information on the website on that, as well as many of these other ones, which help Department of Conservation develop a list of native plant species which are on the brink of extinction, and identify where they are within the New Zealand Botanic Gardens, and allocating a lead garden to work on the conservation efforts for those. So really there are lots of other things that have happened during the year, but just fantastic to see the I guess the vitality and the importance of the work that is being achieved by all members and the different regional and specialist groups. So really great to highlight a few of those at the AGM. Thanks, Marianne.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. I'd now like to hand over to Catherine Zhang, our Treasurer, to provide some further details on the financial position.
Thank you, Marianne. As Marianne mentioned early in the meeting, it has been a challenging year last year, but we managed to make a surplus of 27,000. Although it's a reduction of 10,000, which is equivalent to a 27% decrease versus FY 2022. So this is predominantly due to the increase of 30,000 in expenditure, with wages being the key factor, as the employees have worked additional hours during the transition period. In addition to this, the increase of CPI has put lots of pressure on the cost of doing business without any uplift of membership from us. The small increase of revenue, mainly due to the growing number of members, we'd like to see that a 17% increase of growth from FY 2022 to FY 2023. We would like to sincerely thank all our members and partners for your great support. Our balance sheet continues to remain very strong and healthy, with a retained earnings of 343,000. This has enabled us to better support and engage with our members and community. Financial sustainability will be one of our key focuses in the new financial year in FY 2024. Thank you. That's a brief introduction of the financials from me. Any question, please?
So thank you, Catherine. We might, I might just move to Cassandra to talk about her initial impressions, and then come back to questions for all of us in a minute. So Cass, if you would like to just maybe introduce yourself and talk about your initial impressions and where you think we'll be focusing on in this coming year.
So, hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Marianne. I'd just like to say a quick thank you, I guess, to Marianne and the board, and also to all the members that I have managed to meet so far. It's been a privilege. I got to attend the Victorian Committee meeting last Thursday, which was fantastic because there was quite a lot of people. I think it was something around somewhere between 60 and 80 people, which was brilliant. So it's really nice to be able to get out there, and thank you to everyone because you've made me feel so welcome, and it is such a beautiful network to be a part of. So my background, I was the CEO of Earthwatch. So just quickly, for anyone who doesn't know that, it was an environmental research organisation involved in citizen science. So it really is about creating behaviour change. And that's why I was quite interested in what Botanic Gardens Australia and New Zealand does, is because gardens are the public interface, obviously, between plant science and the public and everybody who passes through those gates. We have the ability to influence. So what I have seen, as Marianne said, I've only been here for a short time. It has only been 19 days, though it does feel like a lot longer. But it's already obvious to me that it is a very well-connected network of highly skilled and passionate individuals who are achieving great amount of work. So as you already heard from Chris, there's a number of significant projects that are currently being delivered and implemented across that network. And I think what I've really seen is just how open and enthusiastic everybody is in really trying to create improvement for Botanic Gardens, from everywhere from processes to operational efficiencies all the way through to their outcomes. So I really want to be able to obviously continue to work with the members on developing and delivering these types of projects, and also to fund them, which is obviously always a critical piece. One thing I have noticed, though, is obviously at the moment we do rely quite heavily on the goodwill and the volunteering of all of our members for these achievements. And there is a risk with that around sustainability. And so one of the things I'd really like to be able to do is grow the ability of BGANZ to invest in capability, so that we can ensure that these regional groups and the specialist groups and all of our members continue to thrive throughout the year, and that we don't see these ebbs and flows and they aren't impacted if a staff member leaves or there are other complications within a workplace that prevent that ongoing commitment. So hopefully, obviously, that is something we can definitely work towards. The other piece that we'll really be doing is looking at undertaking an ecosystem mapping exercise. And this is whereby we identify and then explore all the different stakeholders that share value with us and that are potential opportunities for collaboration. This includes industry partners, but also like-minded organisations like the Council Heads of Australian Botanic Gardens, the Australian Association of Friends Botanic Gardens, and the Botanic Gardens Conservation International. So partnerships are really key and important to deepening our impact. So this is actually quite a critical piece of work, and I look forward to meeting all of the individual groups and having those discussions. The final piece I'll just say is really around broadening the impact. So this is one of the things I'm most excited about, I guess, is being able to broaden the impact beyond the gardens themselves and taking this huge amount of knowledge and expertise and applying it to significant nationwide and global environmental issues. So I think we're in a time now where we really need the experts to be pushing those boundaries and to be making noise so that we can create change. And so we need to be able to harness that expertise that's sitting within this membership and use it to apply to policy and influence change. So things around climate adaptation, urban development, what was the other one I was going to say? Sorry, nature-based solutions. All of these, anyone who's working in this space should be knocking on the door of Botanic Gardens Australia and New Zealand and all its members for consultation. They're not going to do this if they don't know who we are. So a big piece is really raising brand awareness, ensuring that people understand the true value of Botanic Gardens and the role that they play. And so this, again, will be a big piece of work that I will be working towards, so that we can really ensure that BGANZ and all of its members has a much broader impact. And that's me.
Great, that's fantastic. Thank you, Cass. Over the next few weeks and months, the board will be getting together to confirm the strategy and confirm some of that initial work that Cassandra has done. And we look forward to sharing that with you over the coming months. I'll now open the floor to any questions that people might have. So if you can maybe raise your hands, and then I can call on you if there's any questions or issues that people would like to raise. Nope. You're an easy bunch to please. Yep, Damien.
Thanks, Marianne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Just want to say a big congratulations to the BGANZ for delivering the Global Botanic Gardens Congress. I know how much work Chris and the team put into doing that, especially over cancelling with COVID and having to postpone. Just wondering how we went in regards to coming out the other end, and has it set us up well for the next solo BGANZ conference, or do we need to help out and do some more work to get us ready to do that?
Look, I think that's a great question. I might actually hand over to Peter if you're happy to take that question. The board has decided that the next conference will be held in Canberra and hosted by the Australian National Botanic Gardens. And Peter has already started doing some thinking about what that's going to look like.
Yep, so Damien, put it in your diary. First week of November 2025. Old Parliament House will be the venue, as well as the AMBG. So yeah, so it's starting to take shape, and we're really keen to get lots of input into planning what are the key themes and helping out, you know, in general with the planning of the conference, so that we meet everyone's you know, requirements and some of the key themes and topics that people want to hear about. So all feedback welcome.
Thanks, Peter. And I think our intention, the board's intention, is that we will establish a working group to support Peter in delivering, you know, in delivering the conference and the broader board. So if you are interested in being part of that sort of steering committee working group, if you send through your interest to Cassandra or to Rebecca, that would be fantastic. But I think the first thing that we're particularly interested in is understanding some of the common themes and challenges that gardens are facing, and so that we can start kind of pulling together a program of speakers that might be able to, you know, help give some insights into that. So great question. Thank you, Damien. And you know, you will definitely be getting more communication from us as we move to be organising that conference in November 25. All right, are there any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. So I might now move on to our last item of business, which is the election of elected board members. So under the Constitution, 4 of our board members are elected by the membership, and the remaining board members are appointed by the board itself. This year we have 2 vacancies. We have a vacancy, well, there is already an existing vacancy, and there is a vacancy that has come up as a result of Dr. Leonie Scriven, who's a current board member, retiring by rotation. So under the Constitution, we have a process where elected board members retire in a set sequence, so that we don't have all of the board members retiring at once. Leonie has been a fantastic member of the board. She's been a particular support to me as I'm starting to understand how the organisation, but also more importantly, how Botanic Gardens themselves work. And she has the full support of the board to be re-elected. On the screen, you'll see a little bit of her biography, but I'm sure many of you already know Leonie. Under section 36(2) of the Constitution, Leonie is in fact deemed to be elected because there has not been any other nominations for the position, but that is subject to the meeting passing a resolution in favour of this position. So what I'm asking now is, on a show of hands, I'm putting to the members present a resolution that Dr. Leonie Scriven be re-elected as an elected board member of the company. We don't need to have a formal vote, but if I could just have a show of hands of who might be in favour of that. Thank you. And if there's any against. Okay, fantastic. So on that basis, I will declare Leonie has been re-elected as an elected board member for 2 years. So congratulations, Leonie. Thank you. And just a reminder that there is still one vacancy for an elected board member, which, in accordance with section 36(2) of the Constitution, I will now deem to be a casual vacancy. That means that the board is able to appoint someone to fill that until the next AGM. So if you are keen to join in shaping the future and be considered by the board to fill the casual vacancy, please be in touch with either myself or Cassandra, and we can talk through what that means. Generally, we have a monthly meeting which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then there might be some additional things that we prevail on you during the month. But it is a fairly low level of onerousness, and it is a great opportunity, particularly as we're working to shape the future of what the organisation could be. So I think that's it for the formal business. Before closing the meeting, I wanted to say a big thank you to Rebecca. She's kept BGANZ running since Eamon's departure and Cass's arrival. She has been an absolute stalwart, tireless efforts, and without her, we would not have had an annual report, an AGM, or audited financial statements. And I cannot say how much I am thankful for the work she's put in and the support that she has provided to me as I transitioned into the role. I basically started and Eamon's term finished in the same week. So without that, we just really wouldn't have got anywhere. So thank you very much, Rebecca, for the support to me, the wider board, and to Cass in supporting her transition. And I'll now declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for attending.